In the middle of the 19th century, the Mormon pioneers came to an empty valley in the western mountains and there built for themselves and their children a city. They built it from bricks that they made with their own hands from the mud of the valley floor, or from stones carved one by one from the granite mountains. Plank by plank, they built it in a valley barren of trees. They brought the logs from the mountain forests, until they had erected a city that would house themselves and their children, their dreams and their prayers. This is the story of the early buildings of Salt Lake City and the men and women who built them and used them.
This was to be no boom town today, ghost town tomorrow. These people planned to stay here, to send their roots down deep.
The first week, Brigham Young picked out the spot for the new temple to be built. That same week, even before they began to build homes, a group of Mormon battalion men erected a temporary outdoor shelter for their Sabbath meetings. They called it the Bowery.
2 years later, a larger Bowery was built again on the temple block. 100 posts supported a dirt roof, and the Bowery seated 3,000 people who came here for church services, plays, and musicals.
In fine weather, of course.
Only in fine weather. And with all those posts, quite a few of the 3,000 were always craning their necks to see around them.
Clearly, there was room for improvement. The improvement came in the form of the old tabernacle, which was new then, of course. It was designed using wooden arches to support the roof with no columns in the interior. At that time, it was the only auditorium in the American frontier.
With the scarcity of tools and materials on the frontier, it was a hard place to build such a building. Nails had to be hammered individually out of scrap iron. Brigham Young writes about personally going about looking for nails. He finally got 7 pounds from A. Farnham.
In 1852, when it was finished, the auditorium seated 3,000 people, but already it was not large enough. So 2 years later, in April of 1854, the congregation met outside again. And by October, they had built the third Bowery.
It was from the third Bowery that Daniel H. Wells announced a plan to build an auditorium that would seat 10,000. In the middle of the 19th century, that would have been an awesome undertaking anywhere in the world. But here, hundreds of miles away from a railroad, it was even more audacious. The pioneers must build their tabernacle from the timber, rock, and rawhide of their desert home.
Henry Grove designed the roof using the lattice arch principle. The Jordan River Bridge west of the city served as a prototype for the lattice construction.
Brigham Young wanted to make sure of a rounded roof. He was interested in a self-supporting structure with no poles, and he felt the rounded ceiling would ensure good acoustics.
The work progressed from 1863 to 1867, with 150 to 200 men working daily on the building. Iron and steel were so scarce that wooden pegs served as nails in the roof, and the timbers were tied with green rawhide to reinforce the cracked or weak spots. This bound them steel tight.
When the scaffolding was ready to come down, some feared the roof would fall in, but Henry Grove had designed it well. October 3rd, 1867, they took the scaffolding down without accident, it is recorded.
The first conference was held in the tabernacle that same October. It was a thrilling occasion. The tabernacle was magnificent. There were no poles to obstruct the view, and the meeting was protected from the weather.
There were still problems, however. To Brigham Young's dismay, the acoustics were not very good, and 10,000 seats were not enough. People still had to stand in the aisles and doorways.
The addition of a gallery helped solve both problems. It added 3,000 seats and improved the acoustics. Over the years, the tabernacle has hosted a wide variety of events.
I am thankful to my Heavenly Father for the privilege of meeting you again, and I'm happy to say that I am well satisfied. As citizens of the United States, we have an awesome responsibility.
Music has always had a revered place in the church. An organ must be provided for the new tabernacle.
Joseph H. Ridges designed and built the original organ. Truman O. Angell